Greetings, demons, and welcome to One Weekly, episode 54. So this week we had Adepticon 2024, and of course that means there is a lot of topics to get into, and I don't have any pickups this time around, so we're going to be getting straight into those topics right after this intro.
Not the leader of a cult, RabbitWithAxe.
So, starting off in the 41st millennium, we have some 40k Chaos Space Marines revealed, and starting off, we have the Chaos Lord. This guy is absolutely excellent. He's covered in all kinds of little design cues. I'm loving the fact that he actually has all the different kind of things. He has the demon belt buckle, he has the, fur over his shoulder, he has the spikes, he has the horns on his helmet, all the things that you love to see with a Chaos Lord in general. I also quite like that we see an Alpha Legion paint job for this guy. I do quite like that about him. He does have a hammer option, an axe, a spiked mace type weapon, and then you have the options for either a power claw or a plasma pistol, which are very, very nice. A lot of good variety there. And then we also have a brand new Chaos Lord with jump pack, and obviously this one is far more aimed towards the Night Lord fans, and you do have the options for an axe and plasma pistol, or just dual claw hands, power claws, whatever they're actually called for the Chaos Space Marines. And this guy I'm not as big a fan of as with the Chaos Lord on foot, but he does look pretty good. He's not as detailed. He has all the things you kind of want from a Chaos Lord of jump pack. But yeah, overall, a little bit more simple of a model. Still very nice, still a very good model, and especially if you're wanting a faster HQ option, definitely a good model to pick up. But yeah, in some ways, I do kind of prefer the older version of the Chaos Lord of Jump Pack. I don't know, it's just me. But yeah, still, of course, this is coming because of the new Codex, which I have to say, it's kind of disappointing that it's the old art. I don't know why they keep going between, some of these have new art or updated art at the very least. Some of these just have the same art, maybe with some slight changes. Like this time around we have the chaos symbol in the background. But yeah, it's just a weird thing to me. I don't really get why they're doing it. But because of the new Codex, that does mean new Battleforge boxes. We actually have two. So starting off with the Veterans of the Long War. This is going to come with the Chaos Lord on foot, 5 Chosen, 10 Legionaries, 10 Terminators, and 5 Possessed, which is an excellent starter box, especially if you're a fan of Chaos or wanting to get into Chaos. Definitely a good box to pick up. However, I actually, personally, for my taste, prefer the other box, the Dread Talons Battleforge box. This one includes the Chaos Lord with Jump Pack, which, as I say, is my least favourite out of the two Chaos Lords, but still is a very good model. 10 Raptors, a Demon Prince, 10 Cultists, 5 Accursed Cultists, and the Dark Commune. So, a very nice selection for people that want the more, demon side of Chaos. I really do like that. It's some of my favourite models are in this box. Unfortunately, I already own the vast majority of these models. The only ones that I don't have is obviously the new Chaos Lord of Jump Pack and the Demon Prince. I literally own every other model in this box, so not necessarily for me, but as you can tell from that review, I very much like everything in this box, and, between the two of them, the Veterans of the Long War is definitely the better one if you don't have anything, but the Dread Talons is definitely the better upgrade box. I love the selection here. It's so good to me, but, yeah, that is everything to go over. A lot of stuff for Chaos Space Marines. I feel like this might actually be the most other than we had for regular Space Marines when it comes to the Codex releases. Actually, then again, no, I don't know. The other factions have had a lot, so I'm just trying to think that. I think this is close to the most we've had for a single release around a Codex, but yeah, this is pretty good. A pretty good selection overall. But moving on. And over into Kill Team. So we have the brand new Kill Team Termination box. This time we have two very fun factions. Weirdly enough, for a box called Termination, neither are Terminators. I wasn't expecting it, but it just seems a bit weird to call it that, but I digress. First off, we have the Leagues of Votann, and this time we have the Jaegers. So these are Hernkin Pioneers without the bikes. At least that's how it's described, and these guys are packing all kinds of close-range weapons. We have shovels and knives, we have pistols and shotguns, we have what looks like a mini grenade launcher or rocket launcher of some kind, we have mines, Interesting enough for a close range team, we do have a sniper rifle, which is kind of interesting, but we also have things like axes and crossbows and hammers as well, just a lot of very fun things. We even have an ironkin, the little robot guys in there, so a lot of nice variety here, and just generally, for me, definitely something worth picking up, especially when it does become separate, obviously. But yeah, I'm very much a fan of what they're doing with a lot of the Leagues of Votann stuff recently. And yeah, anything that's a little bit different, a little bit, stands out from the standard, I'm definitely a fan of. But yeah, facing against them, we do have brand new Genestealer cults, and you'll never guess what we've actually got. Brood Brothers. They're back, guys. They're back. So we now have Astra Mortarum Genestealers. Love to see it. Absolutely excited. If you know anything about me, you know that my favourite thing in Chaos is, Chaos cultists and all the related stuff there. And while on the, Imperial side, I don't really like Astra Mortarum, when it comes to Genestealers, or when it comes to aliens in general, or all the Xenos races, I like two things. The Greater Good and my Genestealer cults. And yeah, Brood Brothers are excellent. You get such a nice selection. You get Flamers. It's just all the standard Astra Mortarum stuff. So I'm not going to get into too much detail with it. I love the leader character with the Genestealer arm. Just a very nice effect. I love writing the looks here. And in general, a lot of bald heads, but a lot of, different design bald heads, if that makes sense. So definitely some good stuff going on here. I love the shotgun, the sniper, just a lot of variety in the weapons. Just so much good stuff going on here. And along with that, we also have an updated Brood Coven. So of course, this does include, the Patriarch and his lackeys. But yeah, it's good to see an update to that. It looks mostly the same. If anything, I'd actually say it's pretty much the same. It's just probably a repackage. But yeah, it looks very cool still. I'm definitely happy to see those in circulation again at the very least, even if, seemingly nothing really has changed. But yeah, finally for the Termination box, we do have some terrain, and this is 2 plasma generators. They're actually double the size of a standard human model, so like a standard Astra Mortarum model, which is pretty good. Apparently they can hide the entirety of the Patriarch, which is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, very, very neat. Very, I'd almost argue they look very Dwarven, but I don't really know specifically what they're supposed to be. They don't have generic Imperial symbols on them, so it's kind of hard to say, but yeah, definitely interesting terrain there. And yeah, this box in general, very much a pickup for me. 2 factions I really like, being Leagues of Votann and Genestealer cults, and especially the Brood Brothers being something that I've been wanting to see return for a while. Very, very happy, very excited for this one. But going back 10,000 years to the 31st millennium for some Horus Heresy, we have Heresy Thursday. This time we have Hibou Khan, and you can probably tell by that name, but this is a White Scars character who looks pretty good. I'm not the biggest White Scars fan in general, but this guy is actually pretty interesting. He's actually one of the various loyalist turned traitor turned loyalist characters who ends up having to repent for his sins, so to speak, of betraying the Imperium. But yeah, he looks pretty interesting. I'm not a huge fan of his helmetless head, but it's fine. It looks alright. I don't use those anyway. The actual helmet is excellent. I really like the actual ornate design of the actual face plate. Looks really good. The ponytail as well, also pretty good. The scimitar style blade, the curved blade, and the same for the little dagger knife, are just very nice. They're very nice looking. And it's weird to see a little dog tail thing coming off the sword, because that's very much a Space Wolves thing. But yeah, it really does bring them to look together. If it was, a faction, a legion that I cared a little bit more for, I might be more excited for this. As it is, it's a White Scars model. It looks pretty nice, and having read a little bit about Hibou Khan, seems like a pretty cool character. By the sounds of it, he's going to be at least mentioned, if not fully featured, in some future White Scars novels. That's quite interesting to know. But yeah, in general, a very, very cool new character, and just good to see some more variety in the legions being represented, because, we went for so long having just Imperial Fists and Sons of Horus, and that was kind of it. It's good to have a bit more variety now, so yeah, very, very cool. Just good to see a new character with a new paint job, really. And moving back to the Age of Sigmar, we have a brand new model for the Slaves to Darkness. This is Abraxia, Spear of the Everchosen, and she is riding on a giant lizard, which feels like a major trend recently with Slaves to Darkness models. But yeah, she looks absolutely excellent riding on this big lizard. It's pretty by the book as far as, you know, Slaves to Darkness models go, especially leader models. But yeah, she has a flaming spear, a big shield, just some nice armor, horns going out of her head, you know, the usual stuff. She is actually going to be able to run in a Vanguard setup, which just basically means you can have horse riders with her as a predetermined setup, which is pretty nice. New army of renown, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. And yeah, looks pretty good overall. We also have some information about the Nexus Chaotica, which is well, I don't really know what it is. Honestly, Age of Sigmar is something that I am so blind to that I don't properly know what this is. It could be an active spell. It is more likely just to be some sort of terrain thing that has some sort of feature referring to the actual gameplay. But yeah, I'm not reading too much into this. It's called the Nexus Chaotica. It looks pretty cool. There's 2 of them, I believe. Maybe 1, is I'd say. No, it's definitely just 1. Yeah, there's new terrain. It's cool. I'm sure people are going to enjoy painting it up. I might even end up picking it up at some point. But yeah, that is everything for standard Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar? Yeah, Age of Sigmar. I was thinking Age of Darkness for some reason. My brain just didn't work for a second there. Anyway, moving on to new Warcry, we have the brand new, I guess, box. I don't really know how. I don't actually know how Warcry is set up. But yeah, we've got a new Briar and Bone collection, I guess, revealed. And this time we have, well, first off, the Oziarch Bone Reapers with the Terratic cohorts, which is a pretty interesting setup. It has a Kevalos Centauri, which is a centaur skeleton. We have Mortec Cycloptians, Terratic Prowlers, and Aviarch Harpies. And yeah, I'm not really sure which is which. I think the Mortec Cycloptians are the more humanoid ones. The Terratic Prowlers are the ones that look like dogs. And then the Aviarch Harpies even are the birds. But I'm not completely sure. But yeah, they all look pretty cool. The skeleton creatures, you know, it's typical Oziarch Bone Reaper stuff. Very much Nagash's, you know, work. And yeah, they all look pretty nice. They're not too interesting to me, but, you know, a lot of Warcry tends to not be that interesting to me. And that is just as true with the other team we have, which is Sylvaneth. And yeah, these guys are the Twist Wield. And, you know, overall, for Sylvaneth, they look pretty cool. We have a Swarm Sage who is, you know, using a bunch of bees in a beehive to just, I guess, be a weapon. I guess that's what they're for. There's also Wardens, Revenants, Dryads, and Spite Revenants. And once again, could not tell you which is which. I really wish they actually labelled the images, but honestly, they all look great. I just don't know which one's which. So take that as you will. I quite like, you know, the overall aesthetic of Sylvaneth. I just don't care for them. I think they have some really nice models. These ones are definitely no exception to that rule. But yeah, Warcry, as always, continues to be something I don't care too much for. The last thing in this box is the terrain piece, which is the Ravening Narlock, or Narloak. And this is essentially a tree that is so hungry, it decided that it didn't want to stand around and do nothing, and so instead walks around to eat flesh. I'm not joking, that's actually the lore behind this thing, but yeah, it looks pretty interesting. It's a tree with teeth and legs. I don't really know what to say about it. It looks pretty interesting. Once again, sure, people paint it up pretty well, but yeah, that is everything for Briar and Bone, the new warband from Warcry, I guess. But yeah, very cool, and moving on. And over into the superior side mode for Age of Sigmar, Underworlds. This time we have a new entire setup. We have Wintermaw, which is pretty cool, and as part of that box, we have the Brethren of the Bolt. These are, I guess, Order associated cultists, I suppose. They're led by a guy called Peter Filius, who rides on his son's shoulders. very odd bit of lore there, but yeah, they are very much electricity based. That's really all I can get from them. That they look pretty interesting. They have a lot of, electric stuff on them. I don't really know how to describe them. They're all covered in bandages, which I assume is just from burns from using electricity at such close proximity. But yeah, definitely an interesting bunch. I'm sure people could definitely mod these into some Chaos Cultists. But yeah, they're apparently Order Cultists, which a bit weird, it has to be said, but still pretty cool. And then we also have the Skinnerkin, which, oh boy, these guys are great. So more death models, we love to see it. And these ones are led by Grizzler Tenderhook. These are, of course, cannibals, as per usual. And they very rarely will eat more than just a sliver of the flesh until they've taken it back home, because they believe in, actually making a meal of it all. They believe in getting down at the dinner table and having a Sunday roast. But yeah, they are some very interesting looking characters. 3 of them are pretty generic. We've got the female one, the Grizzler character, who looks pretty interesting. She has a big meat hook on her back, which is kind of interesting. And then we've got more of a vampire looking bat type character, which yeah, all of these look great. I really do like my vampire zombie creatures in the world of Age of Sigmar. And yeah, these guys are great. Not the most interesting box overall, but definitely a nice selection of models. And I always have a soft spot for Underworlds. It's my favourite side game out of all of them. And yeah, I wish that, there was a proper Underworlds equivalent for 40k. I'd really enjoy that, but there isn't right now, at least. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it. There's not too much to go over, but I like Underworlds. I like talking about Underworlds. So, moving over into fantasy, we have Blood Bowl, a brand new character for that, a new star player, Jordell Freshbreeze. And yeah, this guy's an elf. He looks interesting. He's got sneakers on. He's got a sword up his sleeve. As with a lot of Blood Bowl stuff, I just don't know what to say about it. He's an elf. He clearly uses the wind in some way. And yeah, he looks interesting. In the little animated art for him, he very much looks like a girl, but I don't think he is. But yeah, no, it legitimately, it's another pretty nice star player, obviously in resin, which is always a bit of a downside. But yeah, still pretty cool, and I'm sure if you're a fan of elves in Blood Bowl, you're going to enjoy it, but yeah, just not something I overly care about. And speaking of something I don't care too much about, the final Adepticon preview for this week, we do have Old World Dwarfs, and yeah, I don't care too much about these, but we are getting a new box. That is the Dwarfen Mountain Holds Battalion. It's going to have 32 Dwarf Warriors, 32 Quarrelers, which can also be built as Thunderers. I don't know what any of that means, but, I'm sure someone does. And then there's also 2 Gyrocopters or Gyro Bombers, depending on how you build them, which are just the helicopters. Dwarfs have helicopters. That's pretty standard. Pretty normal Warhammer lore there. But yeah, new box for anyone that wants to start building dwarfs. I don't see an issue with it. I just don't care for it personally. We do have 4 new models. 2 of them are lords. We have the Dwarf Lord with shield bearers, which is just a Dwarf Lord being carried by 3 other dwarves on a shield. Pretty standard stuff. He has a pretty nice axe. Nothing really else to say about him. There's also the Dwarf Lord on foot, who is alright as well. He has an axe as well. And interestingly enough, some reptile skin on his cape, which is definitely different. I'm not sure if that's supposed to represent a certain faction within Old World. I'm not actually too sure. Because I don't think Seraphon... I guess lizard folk and lizard men are a thing in Old World. So maybe it's something relating to that. We just haven't seen them yet. So, kind of interesting. And then the final 2. We have the Dwarf Lord... Sorry, not the Dwarf Lord. We have the Dwarf Thane with handgun, which is just a dwarf with a gun. It's a pretty big gun, but it's a gun nonetheless. And then Ungrim Iron Fist, who is a named character who I believe has appeared in Age of Sigmar, and is just a guy with a big axe. He looks like a fire slayer. I think that's what they're called in Age of Sigmar. And yeah, he looks pretty cool. Big axe, big afro, not afro, mohawk. And yeah, in general, just a very nice model. But yeah, moving on from all the new stuff, we then have a bunch of returning models. So I'm not going to go over them too much. I'm just kind of going to let them go across screen. But we have a few different ones for plastic, which, it's a mixture of characters and, regular units, which is quite nice. And then we also have some for resin, which, is what it is. Metal as well. And, yeah, overall, most of it looks pretty alright. I'm sure if you're a fan of old Dwarf, especially from like the 90s or the 80s, you're probably going to enjoy this. But, yeah, just not something I care too much for in the grand scheme of things. But that leaves us with our final topic for the week, and that, of course, is the Rumour Engine. This one is for the 19th of March, 2024, and it's a bloody sword. And I don't mean that in the sweary way, I mean that in the sense that it is covered in blood. So yeah, we've got a bit of a serrated blade that has some blood dripping from it. That's all I can really take from it. I'd assume this is probably going to be Age of Sigmar. It could very easily be from any of the various Warhammer games. This could be from literally anything. I say that a lot, I feel, but this one legitimately, it's a nondescript sword of blood on it. If that isn't like, the only thing more Warhammer would be a literal Warhammer with blood dripping from it. Like, a sword of blood on it is just kind of Warhammer bread and butter. So, yeah, there's not really much to take from it, but yeah, definitely looks like it's a nice mold, at least, a nice design. So, yeah, there we go, that's the Rumour Engine, and that is all we have to talk about. So on that note, that is going to be it for this video. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like it, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss upload. Otherwise, comment below any thoughts and feelings about any of the topics we've covered. There's a lot, honestly. Adepticon is always one of those times that just kind of kills me, because it's a lot to talk about at any one time. I feel like this time I've kind of got through it a bit quicker than I would usually, but yeah, still, it's a lot of stuff to go over. So any thoughts, feelings, I'll try and comment and reply to as many things as I can. But, yeah, otherwise it's going to be it from me, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Look at the screen, you'll be fine. Culture's a disease, but worlds divide. I just wanna take